Welcome to the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Wednesday, October 17th. This is Gina Palma. Over the last 2 weeks, we've seen significant precipitation across most areas of the Great Basin, and this precipitation in many areas has been well above normal for the time of year. The only exceptions have been southern Nevada into parts of western and northwest Nevada that have not received as much precipitation as areas further east, and this precipitation has been below normal. Looking at the last 72 hours, the only new snowfall we have seen has been in the very high terrain of parts of eastern Utah, but has been very light. The snow depth is also fairly low for this time of year for October. We're only seeing a couple of inches in some of the higher terrain of Idaho into Wyoming and down into Utah. The satellite loop from this morning shows an area of low pressure over Arizona, which is moving slowly north. Along the north side of this area of low pressure, there's significant cloud cover with also some showers this morning and have been occurring over the last 24 hours over the southern half of Utah into the Arizona Strip. Most of the wet weather over the next couple of days will be located across Utah. Now looking at the outlook for later today, this area of low pressure again moves a little bit further north today, spreading precipitation across much of Utah into far eastern and southern Nevada. Ventilation indices will remain quite high over the eastern half of the region underneath this area of low pressure. However, dispersion will be lower up across Idaho into western Nevada, where winds are significantly lighter. Looking at the transport winds, you can see generally southeast winds around that area of low pressure across Utah, with gusts generally 25 to 30 miles per hour in the higher elevations. Elsewhere across the basin, very light winds into central Idaho and western and central Nevada. Mixing heights will also remain higher over the eastern half of the Great Basin today. As we move into Thursday, this trough of low pressure starts to weaken and move off to the northeast. We will still see some showers across the eastern half of Utah, with drier and warmer conditions over the rest of the west as high pressure off the coast starts to build eastward. This will also bring north to northeast flow over the western half of the Great Basin. On Thursday, we'll generally see poor dispersion in most areas with the exception of where there's some breezier north to northeast winds over the eastern and southern half of Nevada into southwest Utah. On Thursday, you can see transport winds generally light. We will see some of those north to northeast winds, however, across much of the basin, and we will see generally moderate mixing heights. On Friday, that ridge of high pressure starts to build eastward over the area, bringing in much drier air with temperatures near to just above seasonal normals. Also around that ridge of high pressure, we'll see this northeast flow over the southern half of the Great Basin, and this will keep dispersion relatively high with poor dispersion further north. And again on Friday, you can see those gusty north to northeast winds over the southern half of the basin, most gusts between 20 and 25 miles per hour, with very light winds further north. Mixing heights will remain relatively low area-wide, but a little bit higher over the eastern side of the Great Basin. Looking at our forecast clearing index for Utah over the next few days, you can see very high clearing indices over the higher terrain of Utah today with valley inversions in most other areas. However, we will see deteriorating conditions as we move through Thursday and into Friday, with the exception of southwest Utah on Friday, which will see high clearing indices with those breezy northeast winds. Forecast amounts of precipitation are shown here with, again, the best chances for precipitation across Utah, especially in the higher terrain where we could see a half to 3/4 of an inch of precipitation. As we go into the weekend, we're still seeing dry and warm conditions in most areas, with the exception of we will start to see some of this moisture from Mexico and Texas start to move back further west as low pressure off the west coast draws that moisture into the Arizona Strip and far southern Nevada and southern Utah. Therefore, we could see showers later in the day on Saturday in the far south. Otherwise, dispersion will remain good in most areas of Utah, Nevada, and the Arizona Strip, and a little bit lower as you get further north, still under the influence of that high pressure. On Sunday, the moisture really starts to move north and west and cover much of Utah, the Arizona Strip, and the eastern half of Nevada. Therefore, we will see showers overspread many of these areas, but still be relatively on the warm side. Dispersion will remain quite good across Nevada and southern Utah, and again, a little bit lower as you go further north towards that high pressure. On Monday, we'll see showers almost area-wide. The only exceptions may be in far southern and western Nevada, or maybe on the drier side. This is also where we'll see poor dispersion in those areas as well, with better dispersion on Monday up over the northern half of the Great Basin. By Tuesday, we see another stronger area of low pressure move into the northwest. This will start pushing some of that moisture that moved up early in the weekend further east, but it will also bring more moisture off the Pacific. Therefore, we are moving into somewhat of a wetter pattern as we go into this weekend and early next week. Forecast amounts of precipitation from Saturday through early Monday are shown here. Generally light amounts across Utah and Nevada, but again, the better chances of heavier precipitation will be closer to the moisture source over the far south. Looking at the 8 to 14 day outlook, taking us into the very end of October, still shows above normal temperatures across the Great Basin, with below normal precipitation as we end out the month in the southern areas, and a better chance of above normal precipitation in the north and east. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Friday for the latest updates.